My last video was about maximizing the amount of weapon fragments you get for Sheila's weapon because of how long term it can really help boost up your passive stats both through army size when you eventually get to 4-star, easier than any other weapon in the game, realistically, through free-to-play means at least, assuming this event continues to return on a somewhat consistent basis, and of course through the total defense addition to Sheila's 4-star ability also. So a part of this that you're going to want to be focusing on is maximizing your damage on the Night King here and White Walker Generals also. So at the time of recording, the Night King hasn't spawned yet, but Generals have. We can hit them day one of the event, and you can see here as you go down the leaderboard, you'll get fewer and fewer Sheila weapon chests. So you're going to want to score as high as you can here to get as many fragments to this weapon as possible to try and maximize the buffs onto your account. So there are 3 primary ways to score very highly on this list, as far as I know at least. First of all is very simple, but very unrealistic for most of us. It is just find a general and solo attack it. This is very difficult to have the stats for and to sustain the losses for also, for most of us. But if you are a huge account, you can hit these and just hit out like 6-7 million T5 dead every hit. And for the kingdoms with a lot of whales, a lot of max or near max accounts on them, this will be the primary way of farming up the eliminations. There isn't much more to think about realistically. It must be nice for all of them. But more realistically, for most of us, I would imagine, there are 2 other options. So one, it will be tanking rallies, which is what I'm doing here. And to both of these, or really see all 3 of these options, you're going to want to be building up T1s for your frontline to tank these losses, because you will have to be fighting repeatedly over and over and over again. And whilst the losses are reduced, they will still add up. And this is one of the negatives to the soloing strategy, because on offense, of course, you will have dead. You'll have 60% of troops go to the hospital, but 40% die straight up. If you're defending, you'll have 100% troops go to hospital, unless they have the Legion damage dragon skill on one of their dragons, which actually happens annoyingly more often than you'd think. You see most of this is 100% wounded, but I'm sure I'll find somewhere, like here, I have dead. This isn't a bug or anything like that. Just one of these dragons will have Legion damage, so like right there, in that 6th slot. Or is it the 4th slot? I can't remember what it looks like. It's one of them at least. And it's the next stage of the event as I'm recording, interestingly. T1s will be of huge use for everything you're trying to do here, because T1s have a 0-second heal time. They're also very, very low in resource costs also. So you can just keep powering through, healing them over and over and over and over again, and keep racking up kills as much as possible. This is a common trend in Gotwick, where if you can manipulate situations to where you're the defender, it'll be much more beneficial to you. And this will also be the third method of getting points that I'm going to go over also, which I can't actually do at this point in time, because I'm recording this on Diamond's Day of KVK, which means rosters are locked. But this was, I think, the best strategy of getting points in the first version of the event, and it still works now, I believe. The strategy this will be is, if you have a small power account, so say there's like 20 million, if you port this in to the restricted area up in the Barren Lands, if I was on my main account here, they would rally me because I'm too strong to solo. So you see here, waiting for reinforcements, and I can only get rallied. And I can get a lot of points through that. If you just look through my reports, There's a lot of like 3 mil dead for no deaths myself, and I just keep healing the T1s over and over and over again. But you have to wait a long time, and this is very time consuming going through this. There are certain ways of cutting down the time where if rallies are marching on you, you can teleport out and force them to hit and then go back. It seems to cap out at like 5 rallies on you at any given time. It can go above that. I've seen it go above that, but it very rarely does, in my experience at least. And you can't force that many attacks onto yourself at any given time. The trick you can do with these smaller accounts, and I hope this works because I have not prepared this. I'm assuming this works from last time. I mean, you see, I haven't been hit by this at all. But in the previous version of the event, if you ported in a small account, everything would solo attack you immediately. So I port in, and there you go, immediately. Is this going to be a scout? Yeah. So when this scout hits me, if I can just force that to hit, actually, everyone should solo me immediately. So yeah, there you go. So if I put this account in my main alliance and then garrison this, there are 9 solo attacks going at me right now, and I get absolutely hammered. I mean, I'm ported out and the others don't even hit. But if I garrison this account and then say, I could even teleport that account out to force all those attacks to hit immediately, and just repeat that over and over and over again, I would continue to have 0 dead because I'm the defender in that situation, and it puts you in very beneficial scenarios because you'd be fighting against like 800k troops rather than millions. And if you're rallying them, for example, you'll both have no defensive advantage with the 100% wounded rate, which means no casualties, but you'll also be rallying into 17 million troops. Whereas, of course, if you can get a bigger number advantage as you can get, that's going to pay off for you more and more. And those are pretty much the only strategies I'd realistically stick to. The Night King and whatnot, you're going to have to be rallying it, of course. You can rally the generals also. If you're on a kingdom with invaders, hitting these doesn't actually give you fervor. Like you see there, send an attack, there's no fervor at all. So you can sit outside the restricted section. If I can show that. So these darker green areas will be restricted areas where you can't bubble. So if you try and bubble, it will say that can't be truced. But what you can do, if you want to be really safe about this, is go, say, here, scroll down, find an area where you get this prompt, then you can port in, you can bubble, you see that? No further, easy to bubble, and then you can actually attack the White Walkers under bubble, and it will hit, you'll still get points as normal, and you won't get any further. So you can get your solo rewards perfectly safe. You can set up a mini hive and just rally these down safely. And that's another thing you can look to use if the situation calls for it. But if you're going to want to be racking up really high scores, it's going to have to be soloing the generals and just tanking the healing costs over and over again. Or, more realistically, forcing yourself into beneficial defensive situations where you can either tank rallies or force garrisons onto alt accounts that get soloed because they're significantly weaker than your main account.